Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead comic, issue 155. Now, for those watching the videos on this channel almost daily, you know that I'm in the middle of a move, and I'm not going to be moved in fully for another 2 weeks. Now, just so it doesn't look weird and I can explain, there's going to be videos that are going to be off and on, some at the new place. Like, I just came from the comic shop, so I was able to swing by the new place to do this review, and then there's going to be some videos coming that are recorded at the old place. And again, that's probably going to take between 2 to 3 weeks because of the transition. On weekdays, I will be able to get a lot more videos up, so just bear with me, especially with videos that are now on the back burner, because instead of being able to edit them, and I'm talking about the comic cover ones that are done, the season 7 death predictions, you know, the season, which the lighting was bad in that one. That was recorded at the old one. So, and I know a lot of it was picture images anyway, so I just might redo that intro. But anyway, just so you guys know, this next 3 weeks, it's going to be pretty jumbled, you know? But I'm going to get as many videos up and get back on track as fast as I can. Now let's get right into this issue. First off, we got a cool cover with Dwight leading his group, and I do want to point out that Magna's group is in this little cluster of soldiers here, and I like that because maybe Magna's group can start actually contributing more to the main story, so that's very exciting. Now this cover is taken right out of the issue, and the title, Tip of the Spear, I've seen a couple people talking about what that means, and I know there's a few different definitions, but basically what I got out of it was it's the first group of soldiers to enter a war zone, or the first to go into battle, so to speak, and that fits perfectly with what happened inside the issue. Now, we picked up where we left off in the recent issue where Aaron gets stabbed and Michonne is surrounded. Now, when they previewed this, they showed McTwo-Knives running away and gunfire going everywhere. And because of the cover and that preview, I guess we knew that Dwight was going to come save the day, and I'm glad he did, because I just didn't feel like we should lose Michonne at that moment. But I think it was badass having Dwight just show up, you know, mow them all down and save Michonne and possibly Aaron. Now, I know Aaron, by the time she gets him back to Hilltop, the last panel we see is that he's not breathing. Right now, I'm going to predict that he makes it through this. I think that if they were going to kill him, they might save it for something bigger coming up, maybe in the Whisper of War. We might even see a poor wounded Aaron get killed. You know, maybe he can't flee after the Hilltop is attacked. Because listen, we're at issue 155. We have one more issue, and Negan and Alpha, they're on the cover. And in the letter hacks, Kirkman said that it's going to focus heavily on I think it was Kirkman or Sean, the editor. He said that it'll focus heavily on Negan and Alpha, which means, based off this issue, most likely they're going to set a plan. I'll go into that in the predictions video, but Negan will offer what he has to offer to Alpha, you know, lay out his plan, and then we'll most likely see them unite and then go and attack, which, again, we'll discuss this in the predictions video. It seems kind of like, where are they going with this? Because Negan was involved in All Out War. He was the main, you know, the main villain in leading that attack. And then he's now hooking up with Alpha, who is the other main villain leading this new war. So it's kind of iffy where they're going. Now, I think this is cool that Michonne rips this guy's mask off, I'm sorry, not his head off. He rips his mask off after cutting his arm off and then pushes him into the crowd of walkers. And at first I was wondering why, because it was like, well, she knows he's a Whisperer, so why is she even bothering toiling with his mask? But here it was to get the walkers to eat him. That shit was pretty badass. And Michonne is pissed. She wanted Dwight to go after McTwo-Knives. Wait, no, he has a real name. Beta. Negan calls him McTwo-Knives or McFuckface or something like that, but his name's Beta. Anyway, so Michonne rides off with Aaron, and Laura is like, hey, Dwight, should we go after him? What do we do? And essentially Dwight's like, no. They're going to lead the soldiers back and then circle back around and get to Alexandria, because, and the cliffhanger shows that this is an act of war. And again, we only have one more issue before we go into the Whisper of War, which is issue 157, which is going to be the 6-issue war epic that's going to play out, which they're promising in the end of the letter hacks. They're promising that the war is going to be very different. and I'm really hoping that that is true. I'm really hoping for some kind of creepy war where it's not, straight on, how Negan just attack the community. You have the good guys on this side, bad guys on this side. The good guys in their community, the bad guys rushing it, attacking, bombing. I'm hoping it's a little more methodical than that, Maybe picking off some of the patrol guys. You guys know I've talked about my theories on how this war will play out. I think something like that, a creepy factor, would be best. And they have that herd, so if they need to attack one of the communities, maybe push the survivors out or knock some of the walls down with the herds or surround them for whatever they need to do necessary. I mean, that would be cool. If they surround one of the communities, keeping them from exiting, and then if they have enough people, they can attack the second one. I mean, that's something they could possibly do. We have to assume that Negan's going to give them the information needed at this point. We have to assume that Negan will give them the info they need to strategize a lethal attack, you know what I mean, on both of the communities, Alexandria and the Hilltop. Now, Andrea is not happy about what Rick has been doing. Now, I do like this conversation between them because you see both of their points, Andrea's like, someone already got shot. You're scaring these people. You're manipulating these people, which I slightly agree with Rick more because I don't really fully back her when she's like, you're manipulating these people, because it might be manipulation or propaganda, but it's true. Like, these whispers, they're deadly. They're going to kill you. They killed 12 of their people already, and they barely had any reason to. I mean, it was a simple mistake. Like, people didn't know that was their territory, and that's how this all started to begin with. They didn't know they were hiding, among the walkers and shit. So, in reality, they were innocent. It was just a simple misunderstanding. They didn't know this was how they lived. This was their area. So, she had no right at all to kill those 12 people. So, that part I don't agree with Andrea as much, but I see some of her point, especially with knowing that someone got shot and someone could die because of the propaganda on the walls, because of how scared they are. Now, the interaction between Negan and Alpha, I'm liking this a lot. I do like her face here. I want to show this because I don't have time to put in any images right now, but look at her face right here. She's kind of like, ugh, what the fuck you doing? Get away from me. And then she socks him one. And something interesting is happening with Negan as a character. Now, we're getting to this point where he's admitting stuff that he didn't really admit before in the way he's admitting it. Like, I know he talked about something being freaky or scary or scared shitless, you know what I mean? And it was always kind of a joking yet somewhat confident manner, like, I don't know about you, but that shit scared the shit out of me, you know what I'm saying? And here, he seems like he's honestly talking about fear, being scared, and he's talking about how Beta is one scary son of a bitch. And it looks like Beta picks Negan up off the ground with one hand. So, yeah, I think we underestimated him. I was just like, okay, Negan might just kill that son of a bitch and get him out of the way. But it looks like Beta's not going to go down easy. And it does look like Beta is absolutely a follower at this point. It doesn't seem like he wants anything to do with leading, because he sees Alpha punch Negan and he just assumes that Negan attacked Alpha, and he's like, I'll kill him, just tell me when, or just tell me if I should, and I'll do it. So he might be that big dumb guard, you know what I'm saying? We get that. That's kind of like a cliche character, but we might be getting that with Beta. Hopefully he'll turn out to be a little more complex than that. Going back to seeing a different side of Negan, and this has to do with the backstory. Now, we're not going to talk about what's going on in this backstory because it's not much, but we're seeing a different side of Negan. We're not seeing the leader of a post-apocalyptic gang, ruthless gang, essentially who's extorting people, you know what I mean, bullying people, and they own and run everything. That's how we got introduced to Negan, and even afterwards, even being locked up in a cell, he still had that image, However, when you see him in his backstory and you see that he was just a coach and it makes him more human. It does take away some of that mystery, you know what I mean? And it comes at the perfect time, like I said, because Negan's now admitting stuff. He's admitting being afraid, that guy being scary as shit, and he's admitting that it's shitty living out. I wouldn't call it the real world, but this next world. It's shitty living in this world with zombies rolling around. He was in prison. He left prison. He wanted to leave and escape, and he just wanted to get out. Now that he's out, he's like, listen, to be honest, this shit sucks. You know? Anyway, I'm really liking that side of Negan for now, and I'm curious to see where they're going to go with him. We got a little bit with Lydia and Carl. Now, I think this is definitely something we shouldn't forget. They're not doing anything major with Lydia and Carl right now. They just show them basically banging all the time. They're either banging or in bed. We're getting sneak peeks of their story, I should say. And I think that plays a very important role to see how they're growing and how they're connecting for later on, because her stories, one way or the other, it's going to change drastically with this war or by the end of this war. It just has to, because either her mother's going to succeed and her mother's going to uproot her out of this community that she just said, I want you to know how happy you've made me. Everything is better here. My whole life is better. Now, if Alpha takes out the hilltop, that's going to affect Lydia. If Alpha dies and gets defeated, that's her mother is now dead. So that will affect Lydia. No matter what's going to happen in this war, Lydia is going to be affected in a major way. I don't know if this would be a conspiracy theory, so to speak, or maybe it was just drawn this way, but I want to talk about this walker here. It stood out a lot because we see walkers in some of the other images where they are pretty damn rotten. If you look at that walker I just showed you that Dwight's team shoots and takes down, it looks pretty damn fresh. So I just thought of something. I'm like, it would be badass because that walker, it appears to be nothing, right? But if you take that walker later on down the line, we start following the story of someone from a certain community, and then they start walking out and we find out that this person did in fact come from the radio community. I think that would just be one of those really cool little nuggets to add in there with the story. Anyway, I think this is a really good setup for what's to come. We still have one more issue before we get into the war stuff, but I'm actually really excited for the Whisper War. Now, I'm not really excited because it's a war, you know, I'm really excited because of the potential for how different this war can be, the creepy aspects of it, and how methodical the attacks can be. I mean, Negan was pretty straightforward. There they are, let's throw grenades over the fucking wall. You know what I'm saying? He was, let's gun them down, shoot them. Now, he got creative using the guts trick, and that's also something the Whisperers can do because Whisperers use knives and they have that herd of walkers. Imagine if they got, I don't know, some people with crossbows using not the guts trick, I'm sorry, using the rotted flesh to pollute the weapons, to contaminate them. Imagine if they got arrows and contaminated them. I don't even think they showed anybody. Basically what I'm saying is you could just start shooting a shitload over the walls, hit a few people, and then they turn into walkers. They got to put them down or whatever, and they might not even know they were infected, at least not at first. So Negan definitely could give them information, what to hit, where to hit it, how to hit it, and how to cut off aid and help from one community to the other. Now, I did notice in here that Maggie talked about sending a rider. This is something I talked about a long time ago. I'm like, how do they not have a messenger? You get one person on your fastest horse and you take off between communities, especially when they need to communicate and they can't wait, you know what I mean? What if they send out that rider and that rider gets killed and that begins the downfall because that rider doesn't relay the messages? So you take out that rider and then you take out the patrol, and then those communities essentially are cut off. They don't know what's happening between the other ones. This is stuff we might dissect in the coming predictions video. That'll be up in a couple days. Thoughts and opinions. What did you think about this issue? And hang in there. Got a lot more coming, and especially the room tour and collection tours and everything else you guys have been asking for. Put everything down in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.